excited to speak to the two of you, Jackee and Tom, the creators of the Free Britney East Coast Instagram. You guys are the experts, and that's exactly who I need. Jackee, it looks like Tom's having a lot more fun than us, but who am I? What's happening? So just a little backstory I feel like we need to dive into. Tom and I are longtime friends. We both worked at Dunkin' Donuts in our very early days. Tom, am I the only one who got fired from that job, or
what was that?
am I the only one who got fired from that Dunkin' Donuts?
I think every single one of us got fired, man.
What a time to be alive that was, the early 2000s. But with that being said,
Priscilla.
Shout out to Priscilla real quick. But with that being said, the thing that sticks out in my memory the most about you is your love for Britney. Always. That has been running through your veins for a long time. So it makes so much sense to me that here we are talking about what's going on with Britney Spears together.
Right.
Yep. So I know that this story, because I'm a fan, a lot's been going on for years. This isn't just all of a sudden, but since Britney gave her testimony, I think a lot more people are kind of waking up to what has been occurring. So can the two of you just start from the very beginning for someone who doesn't know anything that's going on? What is happening to Britney?
Haley, do you want to start with that, or do you want me to?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think I can go ahead and start. And it's obviously a long story. She's been in this conservatorship for 13 years. So Cliff's Notes version, a series of 5150 holds, which is an involuntary psychiatric hold that Britney was put under that led up to the conservatorship. And I think some important points to mention at that early stage in the conservatorship is that typically if somebody's put under a conservatorship or a guardianship, our understanding from what we've researched and we've talked to other people about is that there's usually like a 5-day notice period, at least in the state of California. And that notice was waived. And that person should have had like the right to counsel and to really dig into some of the intricacies of what a conservatorship is prior to being placed on one. So those are all things that Britney was not permitted to do. Obviously, a lot of her records from the court are sealed, so it's hard to know exactly why it was that they were able to rush this, what the urgency was behind it. But at any rate, in those early days of the conservatorship, she really was already was not allowed certain freedoms for one reason or another. Subsequently tried to hire her own counsel and was deemed unable to do so. So there's a lot of mystery surrounding the early days of this, but we did know that it was going to be, or it was intended to be, temporary. 13 years later, it's certainly not temporary. They were able to make this permanent within that first year of the conservatorship. And I think for a long time, as a member of the general public or a Britney fan, you were able to just look at that and say, you know what, she asked us for privacy for years. Let's just focus on what she's doing with her career and sort of let all of that other stuff go, because maybe it really isn't any of our business. But then if you fast forward to where we're at now, Britney speaking out, people who have worked with her either in the music industry or Hollywood or in some sort of legal or medical capacity are speaking out on her behalf. And then we get that groundbreaking testimony. And it's like, how at this point, especially after all of the bizarre things that have happened around her case in the last 2 years, 3 years, now that she's finally speaking her truth, like, do we sort of owe it to her to listen and to advocate for her?
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. And as far as what a conservatorship is, it's basically a guardianship, which is basically you, legally speaking, you're a child. I mean, Britney has no rights. She can't vote. She can't have kids. She can't check her mail. She can't get married. She can't drive a car. She can't have a cell phone. She can literally almost never see her own kids. So it's, I think a lot of the conversation right now that people are questioning is, how are conservatorships legal to that degree? Right? Because they're set up for people who have like dementia. Older people normally who can't, they're incapacitated, so they can't help themselves. But when you look at Britney, who's been touring and making albums for the past 13 years, why she would still be in a conservatorship in 2021. So I think that's where a lot of the actual movement has been exploding in the past 2 years.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of what piqued a lot of people's interest is, oh my God, she really is still in this conservatorship, but look at all of the professional success she's had since then, and how could somebody who is supposed to be incapacitated or unable to care for themselves in one way or another, going to be able to get up on stage every night and make albums and do interviews and, you know, jet set across the country, and it's just a lot.
Doesn't make sense.
Around. Yeah, it doesn't.
It doesn't add up. 100% does not add up. And I love that you two have really joined forces to advocate for Britney as well. Because, you know, I'm also a fan. I live for.
No, I don't have my shirt.
Oh, that's okay, Jackee. We'll forgive you. Next time we talk, you better be wearing the Britney shirt. So I want to know from both of you personally, what kind of made you get so involved in the movement?
I think. Yeah, that's fine. I think for me, you know, I always followed Britney professionally. She's a tremendously talented artist. I don't think anybody can deny that. But, you know, like I said before, for a long time, I just thought, like, this isn't any of my business. This is somebody's personal life. This is something that, you know, she must want to be private if she's not speaking about it publicly. Like, she must be okay. And I think one of the biggest things for me that, you know, the light bulb moment was when the Britney Graham girls on their podcast dropped the voicemail from a paralegal who allegedly was part of Britney's case. And that sort of opened the floodgates for me to say, wait a minute, what's really happening here? You know, you look at this woman who seems happy and successful and so wonderful, but she's under these tremendous restraints. And I think for me was when I thought, you know, how nosy can I be? Like, what's going on here? Like, is something wrong? And should people be talking about this and making it right?
Yeah, and I think for me, it's the same thing. I think back in 2019, when that voicemail came out, it had me pretty suspicious regarding what's going on behind the scenes, because at the end of the day, none of us actually know what's going on, but there's enough where there's smoke, there's fire, as they say, and there's enough smoke at this point to not question the actual circumstances. And in the past 2 years, even today, before we did this interview, her manager of 20 years quit, Larry Rudolph.
Oh, we'll be talking about that, Tom. Don't you worry. We're talking about Larry soon.
Today's been
Well, what I'm saying is like there's enough smoke now, and it's been about 2 years. So it's a rabbit hole of like different issues, as I've said, but like, when you really dig and like this fans, like we know, there's just been so many clues. A lot of it legal and a lot of it personal, and a lot of it just, when you look at Britney over the past, 13 years, like she just hasn't seemed like herself. I mean, God, you don't have to be a fan to look at someone and see like they're not happy. You can see it in Britney's face. She's been through a lot of trauma, and I think at this point, it needs to, I guess we keep going.
Yeah. Well, I'm interested that you guys both mentioned the voicemails, because that's also what kind of like got the light bulb off in my head too. Like, this, something's weird, something's not okay. So in the direction of how can we save Britney Spears, who do you guys think in her circle is trustworthy? Who do we like?
Sam Asghari.
Yeah.
Her man.
Her boyfriend.
I think we like Sam. Yeah. I mean,
I like him too.
Their posts together seem very genuine. You get a very different perspective of Britney's life and her personal relationships off of his Instagram compared to hers. And I hate to say like social media is the end all be all of who somebody is, because it's not. But there seem to be pretty significant differences between the way she acts around him and, the way she's acting in other videos that are out there of her, and she just seems super calm and relaxed around him. So if
she really does,
happy,
it's really hard to tell, because her family really hasn't been, I wouldn't say supportive her entire life. When you look back at her career and her own family, the people that were in her life, they just don't seem like they had interest in Britney is definitely someone who likes to be in a relationship, and she's had boyfriends in the past, and some work out, some don't. But
It happens.
That's like for all of us.
exactly, it happens. But you can tell that Sam actually genuinely cares for Britney, the person.
I think so. Yeah.
One could raise the argument that he's in it to, you know, maybe be an opportunist. I don't see that. She sounds genuinely happy and looks happy around him. So I would say at this point, maybe Sam. But, you know, again, it's so hard to say because we don't know about Britney. They don't, you know, it's even fans question her own Instagram. Like, we don't know what's real and what's not. You know, the facts that we have are based on court documents and leaks from people in the industry and people who worked with her, and we just don't know. So, Jackee, would you say Sam though? Definitely.
I would say Sam, just because you kind of look at the level of involvement that people have had in her life, from family to past boyfriends or fiancés. And they're all somehow tied into the conservatorship, whether they're overseeing a trust or becoming a co-conservator. They always seem to be so intimately involved in the business and the finances and all of that. And I think anytime you mix family with finances and legalities, it raises questions in your mind. You know, where's that division between where a family and where a business? So I think you have to look at people who are there for her despite, you know, possibly having nothing to gain professionally or financially from it.
Yes. I hope you're right. I hope she's got at least Sam in her life who she can turn to and talk to while all of this is going on, because it's just crazy.
Yes, it is insane.
Insane. And as you kind of touched on a little bit earlier, Tom, let's get more into it. Her longtime manager, Larry Rudolph, he's done. He quit. And he was working with Britney over 20 years. Like, it had been a really long time. So this is a big deal.
I actually think it's 22 and a half years.
Yeah.
Somewhere between 20, 25 years. So
yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a minute. So do you think this is good or bad? Is this a good move?
I think it's great because actually back in 2007, 2008, Britney fired him. She wanted change. And I think, you know, what's crazy is before this conservatorship actually happened, like, Britney was actually still being constricted and told what to do in her own career. She's been controlled since day one, honestly. When you look back at Britney's music, you listen to like Lucky and Overprotected and I'm a Slave for You and My Prerogative. I think it's all in response to the way that Britney felt in that moment in time. So her actually firing Larry kind of made sense. And I think when Larry came back in the picture in 2008 or 2009, I don't think that was Britney's choice. I think her dad made that decision because at that point she had been under the conservatorship. And I don't think Larry really cares for the client, if I'm going to be honest. I don't think he cares. I think Larry cares about money, and I get that. His job is to manage. But you would think after 25 and a half years, like, he would have more to say at that point. I don't think he cares about Britney, the person. So I see it as a good thing personally.
Good.
Yeah. And I mean, I think you can always play devil's advocate with all of these people who are over the past year, and even going back to 2019 with our co-conservator Andrew Wallet. You can look at it two different ways. You can look at it as somebody saw something that wasn't right and said, I can't be part of this anymore. And maybe that's the ethical decision. Or do we have to consider that maybe they're involved in something that wasn't right and they're exiting to save face? So I don't know. We don't know, any of us, why Larry left, why a lot of these other people have submitted their letters of resignation.
You can't just say that and leave.
But, you know,
Your Trust doesn't want to be a part. Larry Rudolph, what's his name?
Andrew Wallet left.
Thank you.
Sam Ingham allegedly is leaving.
Right. All these people are, her lawyer, all these people are dipping out because that ship is sinking. I mean, let's say Britney does get free. What's going to happen when they're still a part of that movement and she can actually come for them? You know what I mean? So, and we can only go by her testimony and court documents and stuff like that. But, you know, like I was saying before, I think when there's smoke, there's fire. You know what I mean? Like, if Britney does become free, and she has that legal right to actually sue them. You know what I mean? Like, I can understand why, for themselves and their own reputations, why everyone might be just sinking with the ship or not wanting to sink with the ship.
Yeah.
They're dipping out, you know? It makes sense.
It does feel like every day someone new is jumping ship, and it's going to be interesting to see like how that kind of snowballs and who's next. But let's
Haley,
big one.
I was telling Jackee before this conversation, I was like, there's so many updates and there's so many things surrounded around this entire story. You know, it's almost hard to keep up.
Yeah.
And me and Jackee have said that to each other because we're actually running that Instagram page with the hopes of, you know, raising more awareness and like maybe some rallies on the East Coast. And every day it's something. It's like not even every day. It feels like every 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like someone quits or like there's like a leak or like something happens. And it's a fascinating, tragic story.
The updates keep
I don't
coming.
want to say fascinating.
Means hopefully we'll just have more conversations like this, because someone's gonna have to catch me up on the Britney news.
Yeah.
You guys are my go-to now.
I hope so. I mean, obviously we're not, you know, legal experts or anything, but you know, we're looking through all the court documents that leak and
thank you for saying that, by the way, because
yes.
I want to make that clear. We're not lawyers, we're not paralegals.
No.
We are basically messengers.
You're
That's
Britney lovers, spreading the good word. Someone has to.
Yeah.
Well, there's a reason we're saying that, because there's actually someone who plays a large part into this entire situation, and it's someone who I like to call you know who. And Jackee, would you have a guess at who maybe I'm alluding towards?
Yes. Well, and this goes back to what we were talking about how many people, let's say, since the domination
Is a big key factor, by the way.
Yeah, was canceled, that have left the picture. And again, we don't know the exact reasons. We can go by their statements, we can go by court docs, we can go by all of that. But we have Lou Taylor and TriStar Entertainment, who was a business manager and involved in some of Britney's financial decisions. They've stepped out. Andrew Wallet, even prior to that, as her co-conservator, he's the one who famously called this a hybrid business model, which if that doesn't raise red flags for you with something that's supposed to protect an individual and their rights, I don't know what does. You know, Bessemer Trust, of course, was brought in to do the 50-50 conservatorship of the estate with Jamie sometime last year. And now they have stepped down, citing that they didn't realize this was not a voluntary conservatorship. And then right on the heels of that, we've got Larry Rudolph stepping aside. Now there's rumors swirling that Sam Ingham, who's our court appointed attorney, is going to step down as well. So it's like, who's left at that point? You know what I mean? Everyone who's really managing her business and her finances is saying, no, you know, we're not going to do this anymore. And whatever their reasons are, you know, we don't know for sure, but it just doesn't look right. And maybe they are genuine and, you know, not a whole lot to be concerned about here. But after hearing what Britney said in her testimony, it's really hard to believe that she was surrounded by enough genuine people.
For sure. Do either of you have any insight into how her kids are doing with all of this?
I don't. I mean, I think every once in a while we get like some inklings and people on Instagram.
Well, actually, here's what we can say about her kids, though. Back in 2019, her father, the conservator over Britney, actually got a restraining order from her two kids because he physically assaulted them or attacked them. Her ex, Kevin Federline, put a restraining order against them 2 years. And actually, a couple days ago, one of her kids actually went online and said, my mom's not being held prisoner. I don't want to be quoted for this, but Jaden James said something along the lines of, my mom's not prisoner, she's going to be okay. Something like that, in response to a fan asking, hey, how is your mom? I would imagine, though, her kids are teenagers at the moment. I would imagine it's not easy seeing their mom like that in public. But again, because of her father, she only gets to see her kids. What is it? 30%? What is it?
Yeah.
70-30
So
versus
this
50.
Yeah, that goes back
Yeah.
to, and I'm glad you raised this point. The physical altercation between Jamie Spears, who's Britney's father, conservator of the estate, and at the time over Britney's
Correct.
person as well, having a physical altercation with her oldest son. And of course, if he's the conservator of Britney as a person and her estate, he's there for supervised visitation. So that actually led up to the restraining order filed by Kevin Federline on Sean Preston, their son's behalf, followed by Jamie stepping down as conservator of the person. Because then
back in 2019, right?
Right. That really was a snowball effect there.
Massive, yep.
Absolutely. Well, I hope they're doing okay and that just continue to get better for those boys because God bless, that cannot be easy.
I'm
Being the child of a pop star, period, never mind everything that Britney's been going through in the public eye. So I cross my fingers for them and hope that K-Fed is coming through as a daddy because we need K-Fed more than ever to step up in this situation for sure.
Yes.
I think what we all need to know is what is the next step for Britney? Now that we got that testimony, the judge kind of denied things. What do we do next?
Do you want to start, Jackee, or do you want me to go? Go ahead.
Sure. So I think what we want to, and when Tom and I first started the Instagram page, what we wanted to do was really keep the conversation going. We're in a 24-hour news cycle. It would be really easy for some of this stuff to get lost in the shuffle. So we want to make sure that Britney's voice is heard, that we continue to report on her story and advocate for her. We would love to get to the point with our own Instagram page, of course, where we could host rallies similar to what they're doing out in LA with Free Britney LA. To continue, building that momentum, keep the conversation going and all of that. And I think, keep an eye on the hearings. They are rapid fire. Sometimes they are, packed full of information. Sometimes they're not. But I think if there's anything we've learned from this whole movement, it's that when people are watching, it puts pressure on others. So I think we just keep watching and we keep, the conversation going and keep advocating for Britney's freedom because that's what, that's what she's told us she wants. So.
Yeah. And the next court hearing is actually going to be July 14th. Yep. And our goal is to build a support group on this side and start some rallies and just get her message out there. I mean, Britney's story is insane. And between the three of us, we grew up with Britney Spears. And it really, she was a phenomenon. And I think one of the craziest things that I wanted to add about this entire story is that Britney is so big. Like when you look at Generation Z, she's not even making music or trying to be in the headlines, and she is still everywhere, which I know is half the problem. But today, she's in the headlines because we don't hear about the pop star, we hear about the human being. But that's a testimony to how big she is and what she's done to the world and her influence. And we just want to see her happy. We want to see her free and happy and doing her damn thing. And, if she wants to ever come back and make music, good. If not, great. But we want to see her, healthy and happy and have a baby. I mean, God, under the conservatorship, I don't know if we mentioned she has an IUD in her body. She can't even have a baby. Maybe get married, whatever it might be for Britney. But, Britney is one of those unproblematic people who she's never been hateful or spiteful or nasty or, the world owes her a big apology, and she is good karma.
Well, I'm a firm believer in good karma, and it feels so great just to have, so many people around the world, but you two especially, talking with me today and advocating for Britney. And thank you for being my Britney connection.
Yeah, this was super fun. I'm excited to chat with you and appreciate you guys giving us time. And, hopefully we're doing the best we can to get Britney's story out there and, keep.
We're going to keep working too. we're a baby account at the moment, and we're going to keep working. We're going to keep expanding. We're going to keep going. And, you know, Jackee, thank you. Haley, thank you. You guys are doing a big thing at the moment. It may seem small, but you're doing a big thing at the moment. So thank you. And let's keep advocating, you know. This is a human rights fight. This is human trafficking. Literally.
God love the two of you for doing your part in advocating. And I look forward to your first rally. I'll be there. Save me a spot.
Yes, absolutely.
You better.
Radio live at the Britney rally.
Yes.
You better
No
work.
place I would rather be. And thank you again for running this page. I'm going to continue to follow it and stay updated and educated. Maybe we'll be talking again when this is all over.
Yeah.
Better be
We'll
soon.
see you soon, okay?
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Bye, you guys. Take care.